Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're a new subscriber, then I'm super grateful to have you over here. And if you're an old subscriber, well, you'll be very happy to know that I'm back with another Zentangle video today on my channel. And today, actually, I'm gonna start working on a new series called the Autangle 2024 series, which has been started by two other certified Zentangle teachers in India, and their names are Sweta and Maya. And both of them started this Autangle series, I think, 2 years back. So this is, yeah, they did start it 2 years back. So this is the third year running. And so basically, it's a combination of autumn with Zentangle. So we're going to be working on some fun autumn themed tiles, and I'm going to be working on these 5 by 5 inch deckled edge paper tiles, which I recently got from a new supplier over here locally, and I really like this paper, so I'm going to be using this for the series. Now, the prompts for day one of the challenge were Aquafleur and Batumber, which are two of my most favorite tangles. And I know you hear me so many times saying that, oh, this tangle is one of my most favorite and the other one is one of my most favorite. Well, the truth is that all tangles are my favorite. And I do have some preferences. So there are certain tangles that I like to stick to during certain phases of my art journey. And Aquafleur has kind of been consistent in a lot of the artworks that I've developed so far, especially if there's Entangle themed. So yeah, so Batumber and Aquafleur are both very fun, interesting tangles to draw, and they were the prompts for day one, and I'm going to be using them for this particular project. Now, you've probably noticed that at the beginning of this video, I already had some sketch work done on my tile, and that's because a bit of a bummer. In all my excitement, I forgot to switch on the camera right from the very beginning, and I'm so glad that I noticed it like 5 minutes into me making the artwork. And so I switched it on immediately after that, so I didn't go too far ahead, not too much harm done over there. And I basically just did the abstract blobs where the Aquafleur is gonna go, which you see me developing right now. And I did the stripes, which is basically kind of like a ribbon placement where the Batumber tangle is gonna go. So you can see me working on the Aquafleur right now, and I'm basically going for autumn colors. So I'm going to be doing reds, yellows, oranges with a bit of brown and sepia and those kinds of tones basically. So yeah, that's what I'm going for. And yeah, once I am going to finish with the Aquafleur, then I will move on to the other steps. So this coloring process for the Aquafleur tends to take a little bit of time, so feel free to do this at your own pace, and then you can sort of pause and replay the video whenever you're ready. Now for these folds that usually go behind the original line on Aquafleur, I'm going to color them red. And once that is done, I'm going to come back inside and start to put in some orbs and color in the background red. And I'm going to do this on the alternate sections because I also want to put a little bit of orange in there. So you can of course choose to do this with the same color, and it's not necessary that you have to switch colors, but I just like to have a nice balance of all colors on my tile, and I definitely wanted to include a little bit of orange over here, which is why I'm going to do this alternate. And also, if you follow my work a lot on Instagram or other social media platforms, then you probably know that I don't use orange a lot in my artworks, which is why I'm kind of consciously trying to use it more these days, so that so that orange doesn't feel left out. And orange knows that I love it too as a color, because I love all colors equally. So yeah, so just me trying to put in some orange bright elements here as well. So yeah, I finished with the red chunks, and here you can see me placing the orange bits. Next, I'm gonna start working on the other tangle, which is Batumber. And for this, I am purposely trying to leave some space around the edges, because you can see that I'm letting it go and touch one of the edges but not the other one, and that's because I want to include an aura line. So you'll see me do the aura line also in a bit. And then for the other side, I'm just going to do the exact opposite and try to make it match, almost like a mirror image or like a reflection. And so that way it can become a nice repeating border, or a mirroring border rather. And this is of course optional. I mean, you can choose to do this all in the same direction, like all of those dips and bumps can be facing in the same direction. But I like to do it this way. And I think that's how it was done in the original step out as well. So I'm actually going to put in the link to the original step out in the description box below, and of course I'll put in the names of the tangle creators as well, so you can have a look at that later on and do your own tangleations and your own versions of it. Okay, so with those aura lines done, we are going to move on to the inside details, and for this I'm just going to do a simple flux like shape, and we are then going to add end hatching inside to just give it some more interest. And at this point it starts to resemble very beautiful ornamental patterns that you find in Indo-Persian or Turkish Indo monuments. So you see a lot of these kind of ornamental block print fabrics, and you see these beautiful decorative items, especially in countries like India and Pakistan and Southeast Asian countries. You find these wooden blocks which have similar patterns, so it's very reminiscent of that. And it also kind of reminds me of all those henna patterns, again, which are very popular in Southeast Asian culture. So yeah, very reminiscent of that. And of course the fact that I'm using brown, which is very very similar to the henna color, also is kind of adding to that feeling and that nostalgia. You'll probably hear me sniffling a lot today in the voiceover because I have a bit of a cold, but well, voiceovers have to be done because how else do I talk to you guys? So yeah, I actually thought that I'm not going to do a voiceover for this. I thought that I'm just going to do the text version with music, very similar to how I did it for the Biju Be Well series in May, which was for the Mental Health Awareness Month, and that was organized by Zentangle headquarters. So I thought I'm going to do a similar treatment for the videos for the Autangle challenge as well. But then I was like, hey, you know what? Everybody falls sick, everybody gets a cold, everybody has a blocked nose or a sinus every now and then. So I might as well just be my honest self and come and talk to you guys in whatever my honest, authentic, self is right now. So yeah, sorry, but you're basically just seeing my real self. I hope you can bear me for a bit while I take you through the rest of the steps in the video. So yeah, at this point you can see that I'm adding the end hatching to the rest of the elements as well. And again, this is a slightly time consuming process because you want to do this carefully and you don't want to overdo it and take it all the way to the top. So if you like, you can pause the video and just do this at your own pace. As a tip, enthaching is best done with a thinner pen. So you might want to opt for a 01 or something even thinner than that if you want to get really good enthaching results, because with a thicker pen they just end up looking like blobs or abstract lines, and that kind of takes away from the beauty of the intricate details. So over here I'm using a 01 nib size pen, and yeah, so something like this is good for adding details with enthaching. Okay, and once that was done, I decided to add in some background colors. So again, I used the red and the orange. So the sections that were mirroring each other, I made them red, the inside sections basically, and then the outward facing sections are orange. And so again, now it looks like a really pretty border, which again reminds me of those sari borders that we often see in India. And I think my mom has a sari which has this orange red border very similar to this one. So yeah, I don't know why that thought came into my head. Going back to my Aquafleur, I am adding in the white dots, and for this I'm using my jelly roll. And again, now going forward, all of these steps are basically optional because it's totally up to you on how decorative and how ornamental or how busy and detailed you want each of your tangles to look. So I really like adding white to dark sections in my tangles because I feel that they kind of brighten up those spaces, and especially over here the white is kind of standing out really beautifully against that brown. And this is not like necessary. I mean, there is no rule book that says that you have to do this, but yeah, I mean, it does give a beautiful result. So if you're doing some experimental tiles and you want to maybe practice a new technique, then you could try incorporating some jelly rolls into your drawings and see the kind of results that you get. Then I added some white jelly roll to those outer lines as well, because again, I wanted to create a nice balance of white all over the tile, and I also wanted to brighten up that border element. So just adding a little bit of white over there. And once that was done, then I added in some golden outlines to the orbs that I had drawn inside the Aquafleur. And again, this is just to bring some oomph and pizzazz, so to say, to my tile. So this is basically the glam quotient. It's totally up to you how much gold you want to use in your tile. And with those gold outlines done, I switched back to my white pen and decided to add some highlights, which are again inside those orbs. And again, this kind of brightens up that entire tangle a little bit more. And then just adding in some white onto that inner border as well. And I was really undecided on what I want to do with those inside sections, but then I finally decided that I wanted to go with the gold. And again, this kind of brightens up the piece and adds that little glam quotient to the tile. So yeah, it does cover up a little bit of that watercolor background that I had done. And some of you might feel or think that maybe the watercolor background turned out to be a waste, but honestly, these pens are sort of translucent. So I wouldn't be getting this effect if the base wasn't colored and if it was pure white. So in a way, the watercolor background does lend itself very beautifully to the composition on top. And while yes, a little bit of it does get covered, the tones of the colors on top just get really enhanced beautifully because there is a base already which is done. So yeah, so I would say that you should kind of experiment with the workflow and see what works best for you. Maybe you like to have your colors directly on a white tile, and maybe you like to draw first and then add the watercolors later. But maybe there are others like me who like to do the watercolor background first and then go ahead and add the pen details. So yeah, just kind of experiment with your workflow and see what works best for you. Okay, and you can really see that gold shining nicely. So now we can move on to the next step, and for this I basically just wanted to add in some filler texture or like a light pattern in the background, and it's almost like a running stitch in embroidery terms. So it's like a thread which is kind of running behind in a running stitch format, and so it's broken lines which I'm just adding lightly to fill up the background. And once that was done, I added in some white dots as well as some golden dots, and this is again just little details to brighten up the piece and to just make it all come together. These are again totally optional. It's totally up to you where you want to hit the stop button on your tile, but I personally feel that the more love we give to our tiles, the more beautiful they end up becoming. But again, you kind of have to know where to stop because you don't want to overdo it. So yeah, you take that call. And yeah, once that was done, I also added these white dots, as you can see, to the centers, and also added a little bit of a thicker outline to the Aquafleur. I think I drew it with the 01 pen initially, but now looking at the tile, I feel like these need to pop out a little bit more from the background. So just to give them a little bit of a lift and to enhance them more, I'm using the 05 pen and just making that border a little bit thicker so that the Aquafleur stands out. Okay, and that is my finished tile for today's project. So you can see all that beautiful golden shine over here, and I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. I was a little skeptical using so much of orange, red and brown together in the beginning, but I think it turned out to be okay. And if you end up recreating this, I would love to see your creations. You can tag me here or you can tag me on other social media platforms, and I'd love to see what you create. And if you're not already subscribed, then here's a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button so that you can come back and watch more videos over here. I promise I'm going to be posting a lot of good content. So till then, keep creating. I'm going to see you soon. Bye bye.